This presentation is an analysis of Arthur Miller's 1949 play Death of a Salesman. Setting: the setting of Death of a Salesman is in the Bronx, a borough in New York City, and Boston in 1949, as well as a series of flashbacks in Willy Loman's mind to about 15 or 16 years earlier. Using a postmodern technique of temporal distortion, or the confusion of linear time, and fragmentation, this play interestingly presents both the present day as well as what the protagonist Willy Loman remembers of an earlier and for him happier time to which he can escape within his own mind. In fact, the original title of the play was Inside of His Head. Genre: this play is clearly a tragedy, as the protagonist, Willy Loman, commits suicide at the end, as well as exhibits a clear fall from grace through time based on his tragic flaw, his inability to understand the true secret to happiness. Willy Loman, who represents the average man in 1949 America, is unique because the character does not fall from a position of high social rank, as was the case with a traditional tragic hero. However, he does fall from a time of happiness and fulfillment, what could be considered the American dream, to the point where he has lost his income, his respect from his employers and family. Because of his corrupt sense of the American dream, fame, and fortune, Willy Loman is unable to recognize what he does have to be happy about in life, such as a faithful and loving wife, two boys who respect and look up to him, and a neighbor, Charlie, who is kind and respectful to him. Loman, like many in the 20th century, is blinded by the materialism of capitalistic America and believes that the secret to happiness is to make money by any means necessary and to gain popularity by any means necessary. Instead of valuing his family, he abandons and betrays them, much like his own father and his brother had abandoned him, chasing their dreams of moving out west and finding diamonds in Africa. By chasing after a career as a traveling salesman, which he is not good at, has having an affair on his wife while on the road in order to escape his loneliness and unhappiness, lying to his son Biff about his affair, as well as to both his sons about his success as a salesman and what the secret to happiness is, and by ignoring his own talents as a man who is good with his hands, as shown by his ability to do manual labor, such as putting up a roof, a ceiling in his home. Willie escapes his mind to the past because he cannot handle the reality of his failures as a husband, father, and employee. He lives a life of delusion and follows false promises in his idolization of his amoral brother Ben, who has made money in the unscrupulous diamond trade, as well as his mentor Dave Singleman, whom he believes was a success because he was still on the road in his 80s and died working and had many people at his funeral. Willy Loman clearly has a foggy understanding of what the American dream is and strives towards an unfulfilling promise, culminating in his last-ditch effort to leave a legacy to his family by committing suicide, which ironically doesn't even work since life insurance will not pay a family in the case of suicide. Conflict. The internal conflict in the play is Willie's desire to be true to himself and to be a good father and husband versus his desire to follow a false dream of fame and fortune, which causes him to end up abandoning and betraying his family and taking advantage of his good friend and neighbor Charlie, who pays Willie $50 a week to support his family. There are several external conflicts, such as Willie versus Charlie, who tries to hire Willie so that he can make an honest and respectable living to support his family. Willie versus Biff, who calls his father a fake after finding out about his affair and the lies he tells to cover it up. And city life versus country life, where Willie insists on living in the city in an attempt to make money rather than where both he and his son Biff feel more free and happy in the country. Themes. There are many themes in this play, which the author Arthur Miller uses to criticize modern society and what he feels are corrupt values of materialism, capitalism, and the desire to get rich and become popular without working hard, like Charlie and his son Bernard do. Willy Loman, who represents the average man of the day, instead teaches his sons to cheat on tests instead of studying, make fun of the teacher as long as the other students think it's funny, and to lie and cheat as long as it gets you what you want. Some of the many themes of Death of a Salesman include the corruption of the American dream, betrayal, dishonesty, abandonment, false hopes of materialism, sickness of the mind, including guilt, family loyalty, being childlike, which Willie, Biff, and Happy all are, confused reality, and corrupt morals. Symbolism. The play also uses quite a few symbols to help develop these themes, including stockings that represent infidelity and betrayal to Willie's wife, Linda, seeds which represent Willie's desire to leave a legacy for his sons, which he is unable to do, just like he is unable to get the seeds he plants to grow at his urban home. Alaska, Africa, and the American West, which all symbolize escape, freedom, and hope. Diamonds, which represent tangible wealth, which, unlike his brother Ben, Willie is unable to obtain. The jungle, which represents the temptation of false dreams and values, such as the dream of material wealth or fame. The rubber hose, which represents how modern Americans kill themselves by attempting to provide the basic necessities such as heat for their families by working themselves to death or by killing their spirit doing so. And the Loman's home, which represents restriction contrasted with the open spaces and freedom of Alaska, Africa, or the American West. Characteristics of postmodernism. The entire play is told by an unreliable narrator, since Willie lives in the past and constantly tells lies or becomes confused about what is really happening. It also uses temporal distortion or the use of nonlinear timelines or narrative techniques, as well as minimalism, since Willie is an average lower middle class man of his time and not a person of high social status. The requiem, or final scene in the play, describes an ill-attended funeral of Willie, the tragic hero who struggled to fulfill his vision of the American dream. It is especially fragmented as if all characters are alienated from one another and have a different view of the importance of Willie's life. Willie, while Biff, who is the most realistic member of the Loman family, says he had the wrong dreams, Happy insists that he did have a good dream, to come out number one. Clearly, Happy is unable to see that this dream was not a healthy one that would lead to happiness. Charlie, on the other hand, says that no one should blame Willie because he lived the life a salesman must live, suggesting that in itself is living a lie. And lastly, Linda just mumbles about that she doesn't understand and she cannot cry. She is so used to going along with the lies of how happy and successful Willie's life is that she cannot feel any real emotions upon his death. It is as if she is so used to denying her true feelings that she cannot feel anything at all. The ending is very fragmented and difficult to follow. All of the characters are talking, but no one is understanding anyone else. The ending is especially postmodern in its depiction of numerous versions of reality, all presented at the same time and place.